Hello, everyone. Today we'll talk about pros and cons about governmental expanding in residential areas in Hong Kong. I am the group leader, Milton Leung.
I'm Nicholas Wong.
I'm Kaden Ho.
And I am Victor La.
In this project, we aim to find out the good and bad aspects on governmental expanding residential areas in Hong Kong. We also gave some suggestions about how the government can expand residential areas.
Here are some important definitions in our project. Land Town Tomorrow Vision. It is a land development plan of the Hong Kong government and was proposed by Carrie Lam in the 2018 policy address. The plan is mainly to reclaim land on the eastern part of Lantau Island to build new towns.
There are many people in Hong Kong, but not enough land for everyone to have their own home to live in. Hong Kong is one of the cities which has the highest property prices. Because of these reasons, there are lots of homeless people in Hong Kong.
We have sent a Google form with 5 questions about the pros and cons about governmental expanding for residential land use in Hong Kong to all classes in QC. After a week, 51 students replied to the Google form. Thank you everyone for answering the form. What negative effects will reclamation bring? Most of the students think reclamation will kill sea animals. Why shouldn't the government develop in country parks? Most of the students think we should protect country parks in Hong Kong. They also think this is not the best way to solve the land problem in Hong Kong. What are the negative effects in expanding residential areas on non-urban areas? Both 31 students think expanding residential areas on non-urban areas have different kinds of pollution, and it will break the habitat of wild animals. Does developing in country parks do more harm than good? Most of the students think developing country parks do more harm than good. Overall, do you think expanding residential areas is good for us? Most students think expanding residential areas is good for us. Conclusion of the Google form. We should expand more residential areas, but not including non-urban areas and country parks. The government should consider more ways to expand residential areas, but we need to keep the ecosystem balanced.
What are the limitations of expanding residential areas in Hong Kong? All development should be carried out following the principles of sustainable development. Sustainable development mainly involves 3 aspects: environment, society, and economic. The government used to requisition land in country parks for development purpose. For example, the construction of Nong Ping 360 required the construction of a turning station within the country park, and it was passed. However, due to opposition from environmental groups and residents, the Legislative Council passed a motion to abolish the directive and order the plan to stop.
What negative effects will expanding residential areas by reclamation bring? The government uses reclamation, the maintenance costs will be very expensive. Using a large amount of resources for drainage system damages the environment. Peat mineralization process leads to a big emission of greenhouse gases, which will cause global warming. Reclamation also forces some species to leave their habitats, and moving habitats means some animals will be dead or extinct, and it will damage the ecosystem.
Thus, developing country parks into residential areas do more harm than good. There are not enough houses for people to live in. People suggest that the government can develop country parks into residential areas. Country parks are mainly used for nature conservation and outdoor recreation. Developing country parks will damage the ecosystem and add up the emission of greenhouse gases. All in all, developing country parks into residential areas does more harm than good. To conclude, there are not enough houses for people to live in. There are no shelters for homeless people to live, and the property prices are too high for people to afford.
We also gave some suggestions on how the government can expand residential areas. The government should consider changing industrial areas into residential areas. They can also think about lowering property prices and build more shelters for homeless people. Thank you, Ms. Yu, for guiding us through the project. This is the end of our presentation. Thank you for your time. No words can express how thankful we are. Thank you.